Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm really glad you're here. My name is Ali Manning, and my channel is Vintage Page Designs. And today we are going to be talking about how to teach your craft in your local area. So I know that that's something that a lot of you have been thinking about. You are all makers here, and I know that many of you already teach, and I know some of you are thinking about teaching. So in this live call today, I'm going to run through like my 5 steps that I think you need to do to teach locally, and then I will be open to questions. And if you want more of this kind of thing, you just need to let me know in the comments. So while I get my presentation ready, why don't you let me know in the comments what your craft is that you are thinking you might like to teach to some local customers. All right, just getting a couple things ready. Right, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Ali Manning. As I mentioned, my company is Vintage Page Designs. I have been teaching creative workshops since 2007. That was when my daughter went to kindergarten. And I started hosting really small classes, some in my own home, some in friends' houses, basically for local moms. And it was just enough to cover my craft supply habit. And honestly, I had no grand plans back then, just a love of making books and making things from paper, and a desire to share that with people that I liked, people in my community. Over time, though, those classes did get a little bigger and then a little bigger. And eventually in 2014, I rented studio space where I taught weekend workshops and, workshops during the day, did open studios, all those kind of things. Did that for 5 years. And then eventually I did take my classes online and built a community that reached like tens of thousands of people. But over those years, my creative journey has grown into, a reasonably sized business with which has allowed me to hire an amazing team. But my roots really are right back there. Like I say, when I waved my daughter off to school on the school bus, and I just gathered some moms together and I taught them how to make mini books. So the important part to all of this is that your path doesn't need to look like mine. Your journey doesn't need to be from, beginnings to a big business. Your goals are your goals. So your goals could be to teach once a season at your local library, or it could be to build a full-time business, and anywhere sort of on that continuum. So I feel like there's space for all of us. And my hope today is to give you a kind of clear starting point to see what's possible, and allow you to take that very first step if you have not already taken it. So let me come back to you over here. I'm just looking at some of the things that you plan to teach. Collage, says Anne, handmade books and mixed media. Georgia's teaching crochet and bookbinding. Heather is doing mini books, mini albums, scrapbooking and cards. Love that. V&A Creations is doing greeting cards, jelly prints and journals. Love that. Hilary, hi Hilary. Paper making, cartonnage, bookbinding, papercraft, surface design. Love that. And let's see what Kat's doing. Well, I know she's already doing soul collage, art journals, jelly printing, paper arts, mixed media stuff. So the gamut, right? The whole 9 yards. I have a little few slides that I'm going to pop on and off the screen, just to kind of, if you want to take notes. During this 30 minutes or so, 25 now, there are, I'm going to go over 5 things, the 5 things that you need. And at the end, I will answer any questions on these things. I will just sort of do an overview of all of them. And then if there's a desire from the community, I will do subsequent videos where I go into more depth for all of these sort of 5 things. But first of all, you're going to choose what to teach. We're going to talk about how to find a venue. And I've got a little surprise for you there. We're going to talk about pricing. We're going to talk about marketing and promotion. And then we're going to actually talk about a little bit about delivery and follow-up. But like I say, we're not going to go into real detail on each of these 5 things, because otherwise that would be like a whole weekend workshop. But I'm happy to pick out any of these and go through it in future videos. But the question is, why would you even want to teach your craft? And if you're watching this video, I'm sort of guessing that perhaps you are thinking about it. Why might you want to? Well, you might want to teach your craft to meet people. So for community, for impact, for income, or for fun. And let's just run through a few of those. Impact. You may want to give back to your local community. You may want to teach for a local nonprofit. You may want to even donate your time if you want to. You could have an impact of getting families together. It could be a mother, daughter, could be a grandparents. You could be opening up a whole new world of creativity to people. It could just be helping to get people off their phones. There's lots of ways that you can have impact when you teach someone to craft something with their hands. There is nothing like the look on someone's face when they make that or complete that first embroidery stitch. They cut and fold that first book. They knit their first granny square. It's like, I did this. Like, that's impact. And frankly, I think that's pretty priceless. So a reason to teach is to have an impact. Another reason to teach is community. Frankly, I started teaching to make friends because my daughter just started school and I needed to find my tribe. And I was a stay-at-home mom, so the working moms weren't really my tribe. I didn't really have much in common with them. The kind of PTA moms, not really my scene. And it was a way for me to just create my own circle of friends. So these were moms who were also crafty, creative, loved making things. It really was my way of just creating my own tribe. And from there, from that little group, sort of it spread outward from there. But really, community, making connections, getting out of the house, meeting new people, say you've moved to a new town, that would be a great reason to teach your craft. You've moved into a new community, be that a town, be that a retirement community, be that whatever. It's a great way to bring people together. And also, income. I started out just wanting to fund my habit, and I did that, and it can end right there. It can end right there. You can do it to fund a vacation, buy a new car, or you can decide to have it pay your bills. It's entirely up to you. I started out with funding my habit, and then I needed to pay sort of blog expenses. I started a blog and going online, and that's not free. So then my teaching income covered my blog and all my website and my newsletter. And then from there, I got a studio and it helped cover my rent and then all my supplies and then and on and on and on from there. So it can be, you can derive an income from it at whatever level you feel comfortable. And let's not forget that it can also be fun, and we're allowed to have fun. Like having fun, really bringing joy into the world. I think we need a lot more of that. So teaching your craft, teaching your skills, it can just be fun, and I think that's a really good reason to do it. I'm just looking very quickly. Look at this one. Suzanne teaches Zentangle crafts. Kim Stevens, metal clay. Love that. I don't think there's an echo. Is there an echo, Amber? No? Okay. I think it might be your computer, VNA. Sorry. All right, what next? Let's start going through the 5 things that I mentioned here. What to teach, where to teach, how to price it, how to market it, and how to deliver and follow up. So, what to teach? Let's say that I'm talking to folks who are just thinking about starting out. Now, if you're an established teacher and you've been doing this for a while, then you're probably already going to have an established schedule of what you teach. But let's just say you are starting out of the gate. Like, I'm going to teach people to make a book. Like, bookbinding is my skill. And I want to teach at my local library on a Thursday night. And I'm going to go to the librarian, head librarian, and You're going to request to teach a class. You're going to start out simple, simple, simple. Teaching at your local library is not like you're teaching at the university level or you're teaching in an art school. I mean, if you are, then you're probably not watching this YouTube video. And you'll be teaching a whole different type of craft or art or skill or technique. But I'm assuming you're teaching in a community-based setting. You've got to keep it simple. You don't know out the gate in a brand new venue what the skill level is going to be, the people who come, what their experience has been. So keep it simple. So if I were to go to my local library, I would probably start out either with an accordion book, maybe an accordion book with some pockets. I might start out with a simple pamphlet stitch book or like a double pamphlet stitch book, something that could be completed in 2 or 3 hours, something where they could complete a project. I wouldn't start them out by doing a leather binding where they had to come back week after week after week to complete this project. Down the road, that's what maybe I would be aiming for. But right now within your local community, you've got to start building like a following and a group of customers. Give them a win. Give them a complete project in an evening, a day, an afternoon, whatever the length of time is that you have. Give them a win, a complete project. And know your audience too. When you're choosing what to teach, you're going to be teaching kids. So you're going to be teaching at a homeschooling group and you know that they're under 7. I'm thinking sharp objects can be kept to a minimum. I'm thinking punching holes with awls, not so much. Yeah, I'm thinking more folding and tearing if I was making a book, for example. But when I've taught middle school girls at our local library, which I have done a lot, oh, are we stitching? We're going to be gluing, we're going to be tearing and collaging. Like the age of the people, the skills, that is very much going to determine what it is that you teach. You know, an adult setting is very different than like an adult and child. A senior setting might be very different than teaching like a high school program. I've taught those too. I mean, I've taught all of these different things. So just very much keep your audience in mind when you're choosing what to teach. And you have let me know in the chat all some of the things you've taught. So, you know, I see Zentangle, I see bead making, I see pyography, which I don't know what that is, but it sounds really cool. I think I might want to learn that. Assemblage. So let's say you want to teach at your local library, VB Works, and they say, oh, please come teach our middle schoolers. You're probably not going to teach them assemblage. You're probably going to choose something that's more appropriate to, say, a middle school group, like probably like your bookmaking or some mixed media, you know, you combine the two. But if someone's, you know, says, come teach at my local quilt guild, you're like, okay, well, these are most likely a group of women and they have really good skills and I want to teach them embroidery. You know that you can go to a slightly higher level. But again, try to complete a project within the allotted time when you're first starting out. Once you are more established, you can do like a series of classes. You know, we meet once a week on a Thursday night for 5 weeks, and then you can complete a bigger project or a series. But keep it contained when you're first thinking about teaching out in your local area. And as I mentioned, in another video, we can always go deeper on what to teach. I'll just take a little break. Where to teach? That's a $1 million question. And Amber, who I haven't thanked for being with me, you can't see Amber, but she's behind the scenes. I can see her cute little face in her red sweater. Amber is here behind the scenes to help, you know, curate the questions when it comes to question and answer at the end. But Amber has got a little link for you. And that is going to take you to a free printable, which is going to give you over 25 ideas on where to teach. So let's say you live in a small town in New England, and you want to start teaching locally. You're going to start out with the people that you know there. If you've just moved to town, that might be more tricky, but I'm assuming maybe you've been in that town for a while or that area of a city. Start with your local contacts. Start with the people you know that work in town hall, that work at the local schools, the people that you come into contact every day, your friends, friends of friends. parents of your kids' friends, I would start utilizing the contacts that you already have and letting them know, hey, I'm thinking about teaching crochet in the fall. Can you think of any places that I might teach, or do you know anyone that I could reach out to? So word of mouth and relationships and existing connections are a really good place to start when thinking about where to teach. Also, when thinking about where to teach, approach them first. Don't kind of wait. Don't wait for the senior centre director to intuit that Claire, who lives on Main Street, is really good at crochet. I think I'm going to ask her to come teach my seniors how to crochet an Afghan. They're too busy. They're thinking about their lives and their jobs. You've got to be proactive and reach out if you want to teach in your local area. And I know it's really embarrassing and awkward, and at first, and it feels like, oh, I just can't ask. But honestly, those people are probably going to be really, really pleased that you did. And like, oh, that's a great idea. Thank you so much. Like, they'll probably be thrilled because, frankly, you're making their lives easier. And talking of that, like, make it an easy yes for them. Like, say, hey, Mrs. Jones at the senior centre, who's the director, I would love to come in and teach a group how to crochet an Afghan. I'm thinking that it would be well, it's probably not a one class, an Afghan, but crochet a pot holder. I don't crochet, just say pot holder. Make it easy. I'm thinking that it would be, by giving her details, it would probably be a 2-hour class that I'd be happy to do, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday afternoon. That's my availability. And, here's some materials, here's some things to look at, here's some samples of my work. I can make it easy. Don't make them do all the work. The easier that you make it for them, like, the quicker you're going to get to a yes. But I know what's going through your mind. You're like, yeah, oh, shoot, I've just come out with something. I know what you're thinking, like, but where am I going to teach? Let me give you some ideas. There are lots of community-based venues that you can choose. And in my list, I've listed them all out to you, but I've already mentioned some. I've mentioned public and private schools, art guilds. I have several art guilds in my area. They're always looking for guest speakers. Quilt guilds, art guilds, parks and rec, community education. Churches and spiritual centres are often looking for teachers. And you can either be part of one of their programs, you could be a member of that spiritual organisation or community, or you could just rent their space. Libraries we've mentioned a lot, but how about some other places? How about local cafes who have an event space? Maybe they would rent you their space. Bookstore, an independent bookstore, a local boutique hotel or a local bed and breakfast. You could rent a space there. Yarn stores, quilt stores, fabric stores, art supply stores. Think more unusual. Think local farms. Think florists. Think nurseries. Think co-working spaces. Think women's networking groups that maybe rent a space. I'm kind of scrabbling around here, but there are lots of places that you could rent space, but also lots of spaces that you could partner with people, like small local museums, historical societies. And I know it's like hard to reach out, but I bet you once you've done it 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, it'll get easier. And think of it like you're not asking, you're just sort of offering. You're saying, hey, I'm really good at, let's choose something else, beading. I'm really good at beading, and I'm looking at teaching some local beading classes. I was wondering if I could rent space and teach here, or if this might be of interest to the people within your community that they might like to get involved with. It's just a gentle offer. So lots of ideas for venues, and like I say, Amber will pop a link in, and if you're watching the recording, the link to this list of potential venues is underneath the video, right on the top line. So we've covered where to teach. And again, in a subsequent video, I am happy to go into more detail if you are interested in that, about how to approach them, how to write a specific type of email. And when you approach them, think about, like, the best way to communicate with them. If it's a local cafe, you could just go in when it's not busy. Local senior center, they may appreciate a phone call. Somewhere else might appreciate an email. I don't think any places these days really look for letters in the mail, but you could stand out and send a letter in the mail. I don't know. But you know, just think about who it is that you are communicating with and what the best way to do that is. And always, follow up. I don't know about you. Well, I don't know about you, but I know about me that, email, it can take me 48 hours, if not longer, to reply to an email, maybe 3, 4, 5 days. It's not my strong suit. So they may be the same way. And it's not you, it's them. And so always follow up with them because, it may have just got to the bottom of the pile. And also, if you don't hear back, try again in 6 months. It could have been that they were in a transition period and, the director of the program had just left and they were hiring a new one. Try not to take the rejection too personally or lack of communication, because it could just be, 99% times it's going to be factors beyond your control and nothing to do with you. And when I was younger, I thought like the whole world revolved around me. Funnily enough, it doesn't. And oftentimes that's nothing to do with you. If then isn't the right time, you can always come back to them. So I know that pricing is top of mind for folks. That's great. I really want to teach my crocheted pot holder, crocheted cactus, whatever it is, felting. But I just don't know what to charge. You have to cover your costs, my friends. You unless you're donating your time, which I think is fine. Please donate your time if you want to. Please get your materials covered though, because we should have our materials covered at least, and we should have our time covered. But it's your choice if you want to donate your time. But when figuring out a price, you need to include your time and your prep time. So, those kits that take quite a long time to put together, I would include that and pay yourself a decent wage. Pay yourself more than minimum wage. Pay yourself a wage. Choose a wage that you feel like, yeah, I feel good about that. And it's going to cost me 2 hours to prep this class. Include that in the price. Add it all up and come up with a formula where there's a cost per student. So, the project uses a ball of wool and, I'm just dreaming this stuff up, and a piece of paper and I don't know what else, a crochet hook. And so those costs come to $5, and I pay myself $25 an hour, and it took me 2 hours to prep. So that's $50, and I hope to get 10 students. So you do the math and figure out like per student cost and overheads. I needed to spend $50, £50 to rent the space. Well, that's got to be divided up by, say, 10 students or 5 students or 4 students, however many you want in your class. But just make sure your costs are covered, and then you have to add in some profit. Now, generally, I used to double for profit. So if my materials cost $35, I'd charge $70 per student, or I would do like a profit of $50 per student. That felt good to me, and then whatever the materials were. But there's a caveat to that you need to look at what your competition is offering. So if you're offering a bookbinding class and it's $100 for, a Saturday afternoon class and it's $100, but you notice at that community center that there's no other classes over 50, you might think, okay, but the trouble is my materials cost so much and my profit needs to be 100. Well, then what you can do is rethink your project. You think, okay, well, the price, the market within this sort of community center, say, or this town, really is on the lower side for my first couple classes before I get all these amazing fans who have to take every single class I ever offer. You could simplify the project, use cheaper, not cheaper material. I don't want to say use cruddy materials, but make a simpler project that's less material and supply heavy, or have them maybe bring some of their own so that you can keep the price point to what the market can bear. But please, 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 when you're pricing, don't undersell yourself. Make sure that you are pricing accordingly. And if you're going to include refreshments, you need to include them in your cost. Include a little bit of time maybe for setup and cleanup. So, the class is 3 hours, but I'm going to need half an hour on each end to set up and clean up. So really the class is well, is really 4 hours. And if you've got to travel a long distance, maybe add that in as well, and or the mileage. So just think through. I mean, I try not to overcomplicate this view, but just try and think through what all the costs are that might be involved. And you could do, most people just do a flat rate per person, but you could always, if you want to get, what's the word? Not clever, but if you want to offer things like incentives for early bird discount, or eventually once you get established, you could do a series of classes, $25 each, or for 5 classes, or 4 for 100, or you could do a group discount, bring a friend for 50% off, as long as you're still making your profit. So there are things that you can do to encourage sales as well. And if you really do want to, if you really feel like you have to keep it that higher price point, then you can do like, you can increase the perceived value of your class by adding in some extras, and adding in like refreshments if that's allowed, and maybe like a kit to take home, or just some little extra things to like I say, increase the perceived value of your class. But just think, like I say, the reason I keep saying, oh, please make sure that you charge enough for your class, is because you don't want to be resentful, and you don't want that feeling of like, ugh, like really, like you're 5 people have showed up to my class, but I'm just not even going to cover my costs. Like, your energy, the way you show up to that is going to show and going to come across to people. So I would really think really carefully about your pricing. And then promotion. I know that this is top of mind for many of you. It's like, that's fine, I've organized my class, but I can't get people to show up. When it comes to marketing your class, yes, you're going to give the date, the time, the project, the cost, but also think about what, like, the intangible things that you're selling when you're promoting the class. You're promoting like a feeling. If it's a mother-daughter class, or a grandparent-child, or even a couples class, you're selling a feeling of connectedness. You're selling a feeling of accomplishment. If it's like a quiet drawing class, or it's a Zentangle class, you're selling mindfulness and calm. So when you are coming up with your marketing copy, think about emotions as well as the actual things that you're delivering. Use social media as permitted. Your own social media, have friends share it, post in local Facebook groups if that's allowed. Use email as many people as you can. And as you grow your local classes, you're going to be getting everyone's emails who sign up, and then you will send emails out to people who've taken your classes before. So building an email list of potential customers is going to be really important, as long as you have their permission to email them. You can, for local classes, you can do flyers, which is amazing. For online classes, it's not quite so easy, but in Facebook, you could create a Facebook event, and then that is really easy for you then to invite people, and then people will say, yes, I'm interested. Even if they haven't signed up, if they say they're interested, then their friends will see the event, even if you're not friends with those people. So there's lots of things you can do on social media to promote your class. And there's, town groups are often very open. I know ours is very open to promoting local classes, particularly if they're in a community setting. And post more than once, people. Don't just like offer once and then walk away. You gotta just keep promoting. I mean, don't be obnoxious, but you have to promote more than once and in different ways, not just here's the facts, this is how you'll feel, and then come to my class. Post behind the scenes images. Oh, I'm getting things ready for my class, or here's the finished product of my class, or here's a photo from my last class that was really fun, everyone holding up their books or their Zentangle tiles. And just remember, you're inviting people, you're not selling to them, you're just inviting, because remember, what you're offering is pretty amazing. You're offering this amazing experience that it's going to make them feel good, and they're going to go away with a really fun end product, and you'll be making them feel great. So it's an invitation. You're not selling. Um, but back to promoting, just you have to do it more than once, my friends. Um, you really do. It's like, yeah, you just can't offer once and then kind of scurry away, because and the reason being is that that flyer in the library that you put up, and then maybe next week you go put up a different flyer, different people will be coming through, and there's going to be different foot traffic. The same on social media. Like, you don't always see the same, you don't always see the things that your friends post. You're like, what, you posted a picture of so and so's graduation? I didn't see that. Frankly, the Facebook and Instagram algorithm decide what we see, rather annoyingly. So you're not being obnoxious. Chances are someone just didn't see it the first time or the second time or the third time around. So you do need to keep posting. And also, when it comes to promotions, work with the venues themselves. So this won't always be possible. So if you're just renting a space from an organization that you don't know, but work with the venue. The venue may have a brochure that they send out. Make sure you're included in that. The venue themselves may well have their own social media accounts, or they certainly should, and their own email lists. So work with them as a partnership, because it's going to be a win-win for them. If your class sells out or you sell lots of seats, they're going to get foot traffic. Say it's a local nursery, they're going to get foot traffic, they're going to benefit, and you're going to benefit. So this is like a collaboration. So it's not it's not rude to ask them to help you promote your class, because it's a win-win. If they send out a weekly newsletter to their customers, please could you be included on that? Make sure you include pictures. If they have flyers near the register, have something there. Like, just think of non-obnoxious ways. You're not going to be like, I want you to put a fly in everyone's bag who comes through the checkout. No, you're not asking them to do that. But you are asking them to put something in their social media stories on Instagram or Facebook. You are asking them to put it on their calendar. If they have a class catalogue, if they send out press releases, or they do an events calendar that they send out to the local newspaper, ask to be included. Like I said, it's a win-win for them. And when it comes to promotion, I really feel like it's an underutilized thing to work as a partner with the venue, so that together, all ships rise, as it were. But if you would like to go deeper, my friends, on promoting your local classes, just let me know, and I'm really happy to do a whole video all about that, because that's my jam. And then you have to deliver the class. I mean, who knew? And a lot of it's obvious. Get there early, set up the space nicely. You can see right here, some of the pictures I've been using are from our Handmade Book Club retreat. And that's like a cute little banner we did. I'm not saying that you have to decorate the room, but just some little extras. Just maybe a vase of flowers. Make the room look appealing. Open the window if it's a bit stinky. Just make sure the chairs are arranged nicely. Take some time to set up the space with intention, and exceed their expectations a little bit. Like, you could I'm just pulling up my ideas. You could include a little Hershey's Kiss, a little piece of chocolate on their spot. Like, that's a tiny touch, but it goes a long way. Halfway through, you could offer them some tea and coffee if the venue allows. You could just offer go to Costco and get a case of water, and leave some water out for them. Just some simple refreshments. I'm not saying put on a banquet, but just going like a little above and beyond to offer them a slightly nicer experience. Have a resource list printed out for them, or send it to them as a PDF afterwards. Go that step further, so that they remember you when they're deciding to take classes next. Oh, when I took that class with Kathy, it was amazing. Like, she just paid such attention to detail. She gave me this really nice little handmade journal for me to take notes during the class. She gave me a cute little sticker. She put a little inspirational quote on each spot. Like, you can just print those off the computer. It's not like you have to spend $10,000 on it. And then think about their experience. You're going to teach them a great craft and they're going to have a really good time. But at the end, like bring it full circle. Have them share their work. Often in Zentangle classes, they'll put all the tiles on the table and take a picture. Invite students to hold up their work and just share it. Say, oh, share what surprised them about it. Take photos of everyone's work and then send them out in the follow-up email. Just thoughtful touches to just elevate their experience is going to make a real difference. Have a raffle, have a little giveaway, a door prize. Create a Facebook group for your customers so they can continue connecting one another. That's like a little more advanced, but there's lots of ways that you can really up level their experience without actually spending a ton of money. And then you're going to stand out as a teacher. With permission, take photographs. You have to, particularly if there's children, you have to get permission. They have to sign. Don't just take verbal permission. But then, you can, or often what I'll do is I'll have them, I used to, not anymore, hold up their things so you can't see their face, or take lots of pictures of hands during the workshop. So, it's less sort of in your face and you don't sort of cross any privacy lines, but lots of pictures of taking pictures and even getting some like little testimonials from them afterwards will really help you with selling further classes, because you're going to be showing them the atmosphere, showing them what it's like to take a class with you, messy hands or, smiling faces or, everyone holding up their work, like feeling really proud of themselves. They look at that and they're like, oh, I want that. So you want to always be thinking to like the next class, like how can I, use this class to build for my next class. So always have, if you can, your next class available. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's class. It was great fun. I love teaching you. If you really like making books, over here I have a sign-up sheet and an example of what we're going to be doing, in my class next month. And that's the best time to get them signed up. And then follow up afterwards is really important. Sending an email. I know some people send thank you notes in the mail. An email is probably all I can manage. And again, next steps. Hey, here's my next class. I mentioned it, but here's a link to sign up again. Obviously, not everyone is going to be able to take your next class for whatever reason, but make sure that you stay in touch with the people who, with permission, again, because if you're emailing people, you have to have their permission. And you get that permission by just having them, sign for a mail list and then check that they have permission. You have permission to email them, but keep them informed of upcoming classes. Because even if someone can't come to the next class, it didn't mean they didn't like your class. It meant that it was their mother's birthday and they couldn't come. So it's not about you. It means nothing about you that Joanna, who came to your class, didn't come to the second one. It's just circumstances. So I think you still might be a little afraid though, people. I know, because I was afraid. I was afraid to get out my comfort zone and teach my first class, because the things that were going through my head were, I'm not an expert. No one's going to sign up. I hate self-promotion. And what if no one shows up? And I get it. Those fears are real. And we have to just push through them. It's true. Maybe you're not an expert. Maybe you're not. That's okay. You're 1 or 2 steps ahead of the folks in your class, and you're their guide. And you're going to do the best you can. You may not have a degree in crochet. I don't think you can get one. You are several steps ahead, and you probably know a heck of a lot more than you think. And you do not have to be a world expert to teach crochet at your local library. You just need to be several steps ahead, know what you're doing, and have a passion for it. No one will sign up. Maybe. It could be true that no one will sign up, but I can guarantee if you don't put yourself out there and teach a class, definitely no one will sign up. So it's possible no one will sign up. But if that happens, what you're going to do is you're going to be disappointed for half a day. I'm like, cool. And then you're going to reevaluate. Okay, how did I promote this? Did I work enough with my venue? Did I do enough social media posts? Did I do this? Did I do that? Okay, all right, well, next time I'm going to do better. I'm going to reschedule the class and I'm going to improve. And then hopefully next time you will get people. But if you don't, you're going to reevaluate and you're going to keep going until you get people to sign up. And I promise you, you will. You really will. And you hate self-promotion. Yeah. Most people do hate self-promotion. And we still have to do it. If we're passionate about something and we really want to teach something that we love, don't think of it as self-promotion. Like I said earlier, it's an invitation. Please come into my world and make a book with me. That's really all you're saying. Come sit down with me and we'll knit together. It's an invitation to come sit around your table. You're not promoting yourself and pretending to the world that you're something you're not. You're just inviting them into your creative circle to make something together and make them feel good. So yes, it's yucky, feeling like you're selling, but honestly, you're selling them something amazing. And what if you make mistakes? Good. Make mistakes. I want you to make mistakes. You may make mistakes when delivering the class, like, I don't know, people can't hear you speak. Okay, great. That means next time you can improve. You may make mistakes by forgetting the printouts. Okay, great. You apologize, you send them along later, and you grow. So if you're not making mistakes, then that's not good. I want you to make mistakes, because if we don't make mistakes, we don't grow. And what if you make mistakes when you're showing them the craft? Even better, make the mistakes. Can I tell you that when I first started the Handmade Book Club, if there's any founding members here, they may know that my videos at the beginning were a lot more polished. And you would think that they'd be more polished now, 6 years later. No, they're not. I cut out all my mistakes at the beginning. But now I don't. I keep them in, because one time I think I was in a rush or something and I just left in some mistakes and I got such good feedback. They're like, oh, thank goodness. We're so glad you showed us your mistakes, because it shows that you're human, and it also gives them permission to make mistakes. And also then it shows them how to troubleshoot out of the mistake. So honestly, make mistakes. Make as many mistakes as you want. I think making mistakes is completely underrated. So my friends, that was a pretty big overview of how to teach your craft, your art, your skill, your passion in your local area. And I know that we didn't go very deep on many of those things, and I would be happy to do so in later videos, or I'd be happy to do so now when we'll do a Q&A. And we have about 15 minutes, because apparently my 30-minute talk was 45 minutes, because I get a little passionate about this kind of thing. And while Amber is bringing up the questions on the screen for me, don't forget to look below the video to sign up for that 25 plus places to visit. Oh, Miss Weaver, are there any questions? Good. Great tip from Suzanne. It looks like keep a journal with notes about how much time you needed for a project and what materials you needed. You think you remember, but you won't. I know. Yeah, I think I'll remember loads of things. That's a really good idea, Suzanne. And I would also add, remember that you've been doing your craft for a long time, and making that book, say, normally takes you 30 minutes. It's probably going to take beginners an hour, or even if they're not beginners. It's still going to take them considerably longer than it would take you, because, there's teaching time. They're going to be a little awkward. They're going to be talking. So yes, timing also is really good. So great tips, Suzanne. Thank you. Any other things, Miss Amber? It's always good to have another class scheduled. Yep, so you can tell students in the current class how they can keep learning. Absolutely, Sandy. Yeah, always be thinking ahead, taking those pictures, getting testimonials. Have the next step ready. Have the next step ready, even if it's, in 3 months' time. What other comments, questions? No, that's it. No, get out of town. You're kidding me. All right, I want to know if you are watching this live or you're watching the replay, if you would like more videos like this, if you'd like me to go deeper into some of these questions about local classes, about pricing, about marketing. It's kind of my jam. and I really like talking about this kind of stuff, but obviously that's not what my audience wants, and we won't. But yeah, I would love to talk more if you would like to talk more. So um, let's see, V&A marketing. Yeah, marketing. Yeah, I know, because we're already passionate, but when it comes to getting the word out, then marketing is tricky. And I think marketing an online class and marketing an in-person class are really different beasts. In the real world, no, in the local, or in your local area for teaching, business cards are still a thing. I haven't had business cards in 100 years, but literally business cards and brochures are still a thing. And flyers are still a thing. Postcards are still a thing in the tactile, the world that we actually live in day to day. So I'd be happy to talk more about marketing. It's scary. Oh, it's okay. Then remember, it's just an invitation. Come into my world. Let's see. Good online. Oh, it leads about a good online presentation. Well, not quite sure I'm an expert on that. And restrictions on teaching handmade book projects from Tom. Actually, yes, it depends. So there are some teachers who have placed copyrights and trademarks. I'm thinking of a guy in Belgium whose name I forget. So there are some people who will not allow you to teach their book structures. If you're a Handmade Book Club member, most of the book structures I teach are traditional bindings, which no one can copyright or trademark because they're ancient book bindings and they're in, books from hundreds of years ago. So, but also if you're a Handmade Book Club member, we do have specific verbiage, which does give you permission to teach the bindings you learn, just can't use the handouts. But you do need to be a bit careful if you're teaching a very specific binding and you think it might belong to someone. I would double check. But if it's anything that you've done with us in the book club, you're fine. Thank you, Ben Elbert. Yeah, he does restrict what you can teach for sure. More audio and video and stills for online classes. Oh, interesting. Okay, video and audio audio and video tips. Okay, great. We'll write them all down. Yeah, it sounds to me like perhaps you're more interested in teaching online classes than in-person classes. Let me see what Sandra said. I'm teaching class for the first time this fall. I'm glad I popped in this live. Oh, thank you, Chandra. I hope it goes well. I'm sure you'll be amazing. I'm sure you're going to be amazing. What about online classes? Do you film them? How do you use a specific camera? I would love to talk about that. That is also my jam. When you're thinking about online classes, friends, there are lots of different ways to do it. You can do it live on Zoom. You can pre-record it. A lot of people, honestly, I'll try not to go off on a tangent, but honestly, most people use their phones these days. Really. Like when I first started out, and I still do use a camera, like a mirrorless camera. It's a Canon M50 Mark II. Most people use their phones these days. Just I forget when I started, 2018, I think was when I did my first online class. Then the phones weren't as good, but the technology in that short amount of time, just 8 years, is so you might be surprised that most creatives are using their phones these days, and you just need a good microphone. So great question. So I would love to talk more. So I think what I'm reading here is that perhaps more online teaching would be requested. So Jennifer says she's been teaching online art journaling since 2020 and always looking at ways to improve marketing and increase exposure. Yeah, it's like a full-time job, really. As a creative trying to sell classes online, you could spend 80% of your time marketing yourself and only 20% of the time actually creating and teaching. Yeah, because there's a lot of noise out there and a lot of people, the market is pretty saturated. So it's time intensive for sure. So it would be great to explore some ways to make that more efficient, I guess, and make the best use of your time. So we will add that to the list as well, my friends. This has been great feedback. So Tracy would like to do both. Excellent. I love that. This has been great feedback, and I hope it was useful. And don't forget to sign up for the 25 places to teach. Even if you want to teach online, you may get some helpful hints there too. And what I would say, folks, is one more thought before I go. What I would say is that I feel really blessed to have taught in person, because a lot of the before I taught online, because a lot of the feedback I got about just the specific projects was really good to receive in person, to actually sit next to someone and watch the mistakes they were making, or watch what was going through their heads when they say we're doing a Coptic binding. Like, I would explain it and then they would do it. And as I watched them, I would see, oh, I should have said, turn your needle this way or put your thumb here. Like, there's nothing quite like being able to watch one of your students doing what you're instructing them to do, to sort of refine your way of delivering that material. So even if, as a long-term plan, you want to be online, teaching people, even if it's just some friends, teaching in person, I think really helps your teaching skills and really sort of brings them along and makes you a better online teacher for sure. So just a thought. So, all right. Jen, anything else, Amber? I need to add something from Jen. She said, also interesting ways to use YouTube as a tool, as a community building venue. Oh, I don't know much about using YouTube as a community building venue, but I'd be really open to learning. Yeah. Question from Kim: when you taught in person, did everyone bring their own supplies, or did you offer kits? Yeah, I offered both. I would have enough. So in terms of tools, so say I was teaching bookbinding, so tools, I would have almost enough tools for everyone. So say it was a class of 8 people, I might have 5 or 6 awls, and 5 or 6 Japanese screw punches. I wouldn't always necessarily have one for everyone, because people use tools at different points during the class, but also a lot of people did bring their own. But I did make sure that I had tools available for them, mostly because I like specific tools and I'm a control freak, so I want them to use the tools I want them to use. But certainly people brought their own. So yes, and then the kits, yeah, I always used to provide all the materials, but that's not to say that you have to. You just it's just a different model. So you could say bring a ball of wool and a number something crochet hook. I don't even know if they have numbers, but maybe they do. Bring a ball of your favorite yarn. Here's some links to Amazon of ones I recommend, and this crochet hook, or this pack of beads, and this, whatever beads go on, I don't really know, string. So you can do either, but I would provide everything, again, because I feel like I'm a bit of a control freak and I want it done how I want it done. So I want them to have a good result. And, particularly with paper and stuff, if people bring the wrong kind or the grain is the wrong way, they might not get a great result. And then I wouldn't feel good. They wouldn't feel good. So generally, but that's a really good question, Kim. Yeah, Kim taught kits, optimal lighting. Well, let me tell you, Hilary, I don't have optimal lighting right now. It's like 6 o'clock and the light, I'm in an Airbnb, so I'm not in my studio and the light is not very good. So we could definitely talk about that. And Rhonda is interested in local classes. Nice. Well, sign up for our newsletter, sign up for that printable, and then we will be doing a business newsletter in the coming months. We'll be sending out a twice monthly newsletter with some different business tips and things to help you along your way. And feel free to, if you're watching the recording or you're watching live, feel free to send us an email if you have if you want to sort of chime in and say, hey, I'd be really interested in learning this, I'd be really interested in learning that. I would love to hear that, because there's no point me just standing here and talking to no one. I would rather offer you the kind of information that you're looking for. So feel free to do that and reach out. All right, I want to say a big thank you to Amber because I forgot to thank her at the beginning. Thank you, ma'am. Amber is here helping out with everything. And I hope you all have what day is it? Thursday. I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your week and go out and teach. Go out and spread the love. Spread the love of all things creative, all things handmade. This world needs more people making things with their hands, my friends. They really do. And I have one last quote to share with you, and that is creativity is contagious. So pass it along. Pass it along. All right, my friends. Thank you so much, everyone. I will see you all very soon.